Welcome back, everybody, to the War Room Live. I'm your host, the Political Offender. Thank you for stopping in and giving me your time today. Make sure to hit that sub button, hit that like button if you support the channel. As well, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about the show. Follow me on my X page here, the Patriot on TV, or at the Political Offender. You'll find me there for some updating breaking news. With that, let's go ahead and dive in. Now that we're past that, you guys know I don't like to waste your time. So let's just dive into the news and see what we got going on today. So, with our first story, this one's a pretty big one in the sense of what is going on with President Trump here. He posted a map, and let me show you it. And this was on Truth Social. Okay, here's the map. He says, new U.S. territory, Strait of Hormuz. And it's showing the Strait of Hormuz, like I just said, as a new U.S. territory here. So this isn't a joke. It's like a legit map here. It's like we annexed it. So it's like we went down to the UAE and planted a flag like it's Montana or Mississippi, like an actual state. So this is obviously, we know, the biggest choke point for global energy, and we have zero diplomatic channels open. Zero right now. We'll get more into that a little bit later. Meanwhile, today as well, a foreign tanker gets hit by an unknown projectile in the Hormuz Strait, with their engine room, I guess, getting damaged. So we know that the strait isn't open, and it isn't a U.S. territory, because if it was, well, Iran just attacked a U.S. territory. And with that, we also know that Qatar, okay, is literally saying it won't even try to mediate between the U.S. and Iran until the Oman deal is done, which is interesting because Trump said yesterday that we are going to bomb the shit out of Oman if they get in between the U.S. and Iran negotiations. Which means we're essentially watching right now Iran negotiate control of one of the most vital energy choke points in the world. So that's kind of where we're sitting at right now with this. And to be real, it doesn't sound like we have much of a plan here. We have the president posting maps on social media, while the actual architecture of a regional conflict is being negotiated without us. But we're going to say we're going to bomb the shit out of Oman if they do continue to negotiate with Iran about this or get in the way. So there is a lot of interesting interweaving parts there. And with that, let's get into the next statement here with what Iran says. And obviously, Iran is saying, the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed. And this is what they've been saying the whole time. Meanwhile, President Trump is going back and forth saying, well, it's open, it's open, it's open. Oh, well, if Iran closes it, well, we'll put a naval blockade on it, so we close it. It's all very just tiresome is what it is. And really, if you understand where this is going, we are one regional escalation here away from a chain reaction that puts us at nearly probably $8 a gallon for a gallon of gas, okay? Anywhere in America, at every pump in America. And, CNBC, CNN, Fox News, they're not talking about that. They're saying, oh, well, you should pay the higher gas prices so Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, we're talking about North Korea right now, where Trump is completely cool with Kim Jong-un having a nuclear weapon, and he pauses all the military drills in South Korea because it costs too much money, and it's escalatory in nature towards North Korea. So we're cool with North Korea having a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, they're sending 50,000 troops again to Russia so they can go die in the Ukraine and Russia war. But we're not cool with Iran having a nuclear weapon. Very interesting. Obviously, I'm not cool with Iran having a nuclear weapon either, but I don't think that allows us to just go start bombing the shit out of the country because of that. So we see Iran has explicitly stated, like I said, that, this is going to stay closed. And the official Iranian policy, which is backed by their top military brass as well, is that while this conflict in Gaza rages on and in Lebanon, while the proxy warfare in Syria and Yemen continues, that this region is going to be stretched thinner and thinner than it's ever been in a complete decade, okay? We already have our forces spread out thin. Israel just admitted they have their forces spread out thin as well in a public statement. So, this is what happens when you have 20 years of American military presence, hundreds of billions of dollars spent, and it all hinges on this waterway being open. And Iran knows this, which is exactly why they're threatening to close it, and they're keeping it closed. It's their one move. It's their leverage. It's in a region where, they're militarily outgunned by the United States completely, but, all it takes is one drone or a missile to land into a tanker, and they're going to want to stop flowing through that strait. And maybe the United States is covering the insurance policies that if a tanker gets hit, that we're paying for it, which is insane. We just pay for everything now. The American taxpayer pays for everything in the world now. It's insane. It's disgusting. So with that, I mean, that's kind of what's going on here. Nothing really new. Just the same old, the strait's closed or the strait's open. Oh, well, it's a new U.S. territory. It's always something. And the regional temperature, it's really getting hotter. You can feel it. I mean, you got the active conflict in Gaza, Lebanon. We're going to get into a topic later where Israeli jets literally struck a Syrian base, which caused a massive condemnation from a bunch of countries to them. And it seems like, if you think about it from a perspective, and I'm not saying I agree with them, if Israel strikes Iranian territory, or if a new American administration, if President Trump gets out of office, because they said it's going to take years and years for this escalation and this war to cool off now. If Iran's response isn't a direct military challenge, I mean, what else are they going to do? So, I mean, if you think about it from their perspective, they have really nothing they can do other than shut down this strait. So with that, everybody, let's go ahead and dive in to our next piece of news that we have for you this evening. Like I said, in the first story, that another ship just got hit in the Strait of Hormuz by an unknown projectile. And this is, by the way, okay, the 15th time, and I'm not exaggerating, the 15th time this has happened in the last few months, okay? So, if you think about it, the United States imposes massive sanctions on Iran. The United States stations military assets in the region, and Iran and its proxies respond by occasionally throwing something at a merchant vessel. And what's the cost to them? It's very minimal. It's very minimal. And what's the upside? They demonstrate capability. They provoke without triggering an open war, which I do believe we're in a complete open war right now, personally. But they're not trying to trigger out this full-on open war, and they remind everyone that they can just disrupt the world's most critical oil choke point. And it's very asymmetric harassment, and it works beautifully for them. And what's the best part about all of this? It seems like the best part is that literally no one in Washington is interested in actually solving this. Because as long as it stays at this current temperature in the Middle East, it's hot enough to be dangerous, but it's cool enough to avoid this declared war. Like I said, I believe it's a complete war, but we haven't officially declared war on them. And everyone gets what they want, it seems like here. The defense contractors get what they want. The energy markets stay volatile. They make a bunch of money over there. And we get to maintain this military presence, as well as Iran gets to look strong at home without absolutely getting obliterated. It seems like a massive geopolitical dance that all these countries are doing. And what's actually getting glossed over here about this most important part about this all is American families are paying for all this. Every single one of those incidents where, there's an unknown projectile that gets launched into a tanker, or there's a base that gets blown up, or we use Tomahawk missiles. I mean, every single time that happens, we're paying for that out of pocket. So that all of this as well is going to get baked into your energy costs. This is why your grocery bill is what it is. So we're essentially right now subsidizing a geopolitical standoff with your grocery money is exactly what we're doing right now. And nobody's talking about it in that way, really. That's why I like to talk about it in that way, because it actually genuinely is killing the American families. So what also goes on with this, and it concerns me, is, and I want to be very precise about this, nobody in a position of power, okay, has any interest in an off-ramp here. A diplomatic solution would require admitting that our current policy is stuck in a loop, and it's really not politically viable for anyone. So instead, we're going to keep dancing this dance geopolitically between these countries, and I don't really know where this is going to lead us to. In the last story, we're going to be talking about a possible nuclear strike that the United States is thinking about doing, which is pretty insane. But we're at the point right now where it's like, we're probably going to have a full ground invasion for any kind of meaningful action to happen here. And I don't want that. I'm not calling for that in any type of way. I am voting for the opposite of that. I actually voted this year, I voted for the last presidential election for there to be no new wars. And here we are. So with that, obviously, we know the shipping premiums, insurance premiums are jumping like 20% in the next 2 months without a doubt. And it's just how these insurance markets work with these cargo tankers. And the next incident, we'll see what happens with how that's going to turn out with more incidences, with more tankers getting blown up, as President Trump says, we're not negotiating with them anymore. Even though yesterday or the day before, it was like, oh, we're negotiating with them. They just don't want to admit it. And then now it's like, oh, we're not negotiating with them. It's a whole spin. You guys know. All right. So with our next story, this is a very interesting one here, because the Washington Post just dropped that the military is actively evaluating a pullback of American forces from the Middle East, specifically the Persian Gulf. And here's kind of the kicker here. So apparently they're doing this because our bases there have been absolutely getting hammered, and they haven't been being truthful about that. The facilities, apparently there's over $500 million in damage at just one facility. And I guess that's in Kuwait, apparently. So what's actually going on here, and let me lay this out, what actually happened here. Okay, so this Iran war, it exposed something that the generals in America have been pretty terrified to say out loud, and said our Middle East footprint isn't the impenetrable fortress that we have been telling the taxpayers it is. Okay, it's very vulnerable, it's expensive, and frankly, it's indefensible. So now, after 50 years and trillions of dollars, the Pentagon is like, hey, maybe we should talk about leaving. You think? You think that's a good idea? So obviously, it's not that we got our butts completely kicked by Iran in this, but the sense is they can do massive economic damage to our bases, where it is going to cause a massive economic strain to continue funding all of this. And for over a half a century, America has treated the Persian Gulf like their personal fiefdom. Okay, fiefdom, whatever the word is for that. We station troops there. We maintain these permanent bases. And we tell the world that we control the, most critical choke point for global energy. And how much have we spent? It's tens of thousands of dead Americans. It's hundreds of thousands of wounded. It's trillions of dollars. And for what? To get struck by Iranian missiles? And this is where we're at right now. So the Pentagon is literally evaluating whether to reduce its footprint or not. And that tells you a lot about what's going on, okay? A lot. With that, everybody, let's go ahead and dive in to our next piece of news that we have for you this evening. And this is the Israel story I was going to tell you guys about. So we saw Israeli jets hammered a base, an air base in the Idlib province in northwestern Syria. This would be the first major strike in months. So all of a sudden, you saw these secondary explosions. There was multiple hits, and this airfield got hit very hard. The Israeli government won't even admit it happened. They won't even say it was them. Meanwhile, as well, a senior Israeli official ran straight to Fox News, at the most senior levels, by the way. And that's their words, not mine. That's literally their words. And they say, hey, we told the Americans everything in advance. It was classified, serious stuff. It was Iranian proxies. Except here's the thing, okay? The new Syrian government, the Shara Jolani government that just took over from the Assad regime 19 months ago, they're furious, obviously. And I don't support Jolani. This guy's a literal Islamic terrorist who killed Americans. And now he's the president of Syria. And anyways, okay, Syria, they're calling it an unjustified aggression, a flagrant violation of sovereignty, okay? As well, Tom Barrack, a very Trump guy, if you remember him, he's saying it's an unnecessary escalation that threatens regional stability. So we've got Israel striking Syria, and America's supposedly alarmed about it, but they were talked about it in classified meetings that they were going to do it. So what's going on with all this? Let me just paint the picture here. So Assad's been gone since about December 2024, and that's about 19 months, okay? So the new regime in Damascus is the new terrorist as well, the new president, Jolani and company. And they came up in Idlib, and it's their headquarters. So it's an Al Qaeda aligned Sunni stronghold, and that's their base. It's their people. So that's the idea, okay? And I'm going to say this very slowly so you really understand how stupid this sounds, okay? So the idea that an Iran-linked proxy militia, that they're still operating in Idlib in 2026, 19 months after Assad is gone, is fundamentally pretty absurd. It's pretty much like saying the Bloods are running heroin operations out of the NYPD precinct, okay? It doesn't track at all. But Israel, okay, they strike anyways, and they tell America in advance in a classified briefing, and America doesn't stop them. But apparently America is deeply concerned afterward, and we condemn it. So, you know what that means? It means America knew. It means it was greenlit. That also means the envoy Barrack, Tom Barrack's, quote, unnecessary escalation speech is damage control for public consumption, while the real deal went down behind closed doors. So, it's complete scam. And what I think is actually happening here is it's obviously Israel's testing the new Syrian government, okay? They're sending a message that we can strike you whenever we want. You don't control your own airspace, and you need to understand that before any moves we don't like, because Syria's new government, Shara and Jolani, they're playing both sides. They're dealing with America, and they're dealing with Russia. They're dealing with these regional powers. And they've just announced, literally just announced, that they're going to keep nuclear material inside the country, subject to IAEA monitoring, and it's a huge power move. And that's them saying, you know, we're sovereign now. We control our own territory. Israel doesn't like that message. And Israel doesn't like the idea of a functioning semi-independent Syrian state that actually might start making its own decisions. So they send in the jets, and they try to flex their muscle. And they remind Damascus who has air superiority over the region. And as well, they tell Washington, and they tell basically all the American taxpayers that we do what we need to do. And you'll support it because that's the arrangement. That's what they're telling you, the taxpayer. That's what they're telling you guys. So with that, meanwhile, like I said, Tom Barrack's out there talking about a logical discourse and restraint. I mean, logical discourse. The man literally just watched his envoy position ignore a military operation he's now condemning. It's literal professional gaslighting. And this is what happens when you have, you know, what's going on here. It's complete scam. All right, so with that, everybody, we are going to continue on to the last piece of news we have for you this evening, and this is a pretty big one in my opinion here. MTG just released some information that there are actual strategy meetings happening inside the Trump administration where people are discussing using nuclear weapons on Iran, and I'm not speculating, I'm not fear-mongering here. I know this is real, okay? So if you let this sink in for a second, just let it sink in for you for a second. The administration, we bombed Iranian targets. We killed their military commanders. We killed basically their pope. And instead of that resolving anything, what's actually happening behind closed doors now is even worse. They're talking about lowering the nuclear threshold, meaning making it easier to justify nuclear strikes. So this is pretty concerning because it's a literal shift in a doctrine that means we're about inches away from Armageddon in the region. Oh, but maybe it won't be Armageddon. They'll say it's a low tactical nuke threshold. It has very low radiation. It has no effect on the civilian population for where we landed it. So we had to do it. That's what they're going to do. As soon as we launch a nuclear strike on Iran, there's going to be a complete mass media coverage of it, right? And it will be all in the framework of we had to do it because of this. And it's going to justify the nuclear strike. And that's all they're waiting for right now. Trump was explicitly told, okay, by U.S. intelligence, our own people, that Iran was nowhere near developing a nuclear weapon, not even close, that they had the full intelligence picture and it was clear. Despite that, despite having the actual facts, the bombs dropped anyways. And then Israel, right on cue, repeated the same line they've been repeating for decades, that Iran is only weeks away from a nuclear bomb. And they've been saying it since the 2000s, okay? And I don't hate Israel. I'm just stating the facts here, okay? This is crazy. This is my money getting spent on this stuff. This is your money getting spent. I don't want my money being spent on this stuff. Okay, I want it being spent in America. But here we are. All right, everybody. So with that, you guys kind of get the picture. It's same old every day, man. It's hard coming on here and just reporting the same old, but I have to keep breaking it down. And the most hypocritical people in the world that support this presidency and support this insanity that's going on in the Middle East need to be called out for it. So I'm just breaking down what's happening day by day. I know it gets a little repetitive, but I'm here anyway. So with that, everybody, I really appreciate you all stopping into the War Room Live. I'm your host, the Political Offender. Thank you for stopping in and giving me your time today. Make sure to hit that sub button, hit that like button if you support the channel as well. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about the show. With that, follow my X page on the Patreon TV or the Political Offender. I really appreciate you all guys coming in and spending your time with me today. I will catch you guys in the next one. Everyone, stay safe.